So we're going to continue on in our prospect pool overviews today with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I hate to break it to you guys, this pool's not that great. I don't think I'm surprising anyone by saying that. This team's been in contention, been in the hunt for the last couple of years, and I would say that ever since Crosby was drafted, this prospect pool has not been particularly the greatest. It's been a lot of guys from the American Hockey League or guys they have selected in later choices throughout the draft. But you do have some solid gems in here who could turn into future NHLers. We'll start off with a new guy a guy from the past in Braden Yeager. By the way, we will be talking about Puustinen or Beliveau because Puustinen graduated, and Beliveau we talked about last year. There's a new defenseman that I want to discuss. But Braden Yeager, a center from Saskatoon, Canada. He is 6 foot, 170 pounds. He won the Hlinka Gretzky Gold in 2022-23. He was drafted 14th overall in the 2023 draft. He honestly looked at the time as a guy that I thought was going to be a steal at that selection. He played 57 games, played with Moose Jaw, had 35 goals, 60 assists, 95 points. He is by far their best prospect. He has a good hockey sense and a really good 200-foot game, which could really transition well over to the NHL. And I'm excited to see how he's going to do when he gets over to the pros. He does look like he's going to play probably another season in Moose Jaw before he comes over to the AHL. I've been obviously wrong before, but regardless, he is still a ways away from getting there. It's just a matter of developing him properly. But the Penguins, at least as of right now, aren't in too much of a worry for that, even though they are kind of on the decline when you look at them in terms of the overall team. After Yeager, there are a lot of guys who honestly could make it to the NHL, won't be that big of an impact player. They kind of just looked at as wild cards right now, besides Yeager. You start off with Samuel Poulin, who we talked about last year. He is a right wing / left wing from Laval, Canada. He is 6'2", 214 pounds. He won the Hlinka Gretzky Gold in 1819. So a lot of these guys, when you look down this list, have won Hlinka Gretzky Golds. I think pretty much every single one of them has won a Hlinka Gretzky Gold. But, I mean, if you're from Canada, you usually just win one anyways. But he was drafted 21st overall in 2019. He did play 3 games with the Penguins last year, but I do fear that his NHL time and his NHL shot is fading because he missed last year, a lot of last year due to personal reasons. I'm not going to say that was the wrong move. Obviously, when you go through something, I'm not 100% sure what he was going through at the time, but obviously, when you look in terms of that, like, that's more important. But this year definitely, and missing last year, have definitely affected his development. He had 41 games played, 16 goals, 15 assists, 31 points with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. I don't know. We'll see how he comes up and performs in the NHL next season if he does make a spot. But obviously, as of right now, it's not looking particularly great when you look in terms of Poulin and his overall NHL shot, I guess you could say. Next up, then, we do have a new guy. We have Tanner Howe. Howe is a guy from this past year's draft. He is someone who I thought that actually dropped substantially, and I was kind of surprised that he dropped. Tanner Howe is a left wing from Prince Albert, Canada. He's 5'10", 183 pounds. He won the Hlinka Gretzky Gold in 22-23, which honestly, when you look in terms, again, like everyone Hlinka Gretzky's. He was drafted 46th overall in 2024. This past year with Regina, which was a team that kind of underperformed this past year, he had 68 games played, 28 goals, 49 assists, 77 points. He produced very well despite him being really short compared to a lot of the other players, which is part of the reason why he dropped in the draft. Because obviously guys were like, because of how short he is. And a lot of guys do get overlooked because of that. Now, obviously, sometimes that is defied, like Berkeley Catton went pretty late. I believe he's the same height as Tanner Howe, but maybe there was something else there in why he dropped, but Pittsburgh might have gotten a solid pick there at the second round selection, 46 overall. But obviously, we're a little ways away before we do see Howe make his impact in the NHL and before we see him convert over to the National Hockey League. It's going to be a little bit of time before that does happen. Maybe he'll grow a little bit. Who knows? Next up, then, we have a guy that they selected a few years back, Owen Pickering, who was looked at as their best defensive prospect. He is a defender from St. Adolphe, Canada. He's 6'5", 185 pounds, so he's a big boy. He was drafted 21st overall in 2022. He played 8 games with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, so I would assume that with that, he will probably make the transition over to the AHL full-time next year, maybe get some games up in the NHL as well. But this past year with Swift Current, he had 59 games played, 7 goals, 39 assists for 46 points. As I said, he is the best defender in the Penguins prospect pool. He definitely needs to improve on some points in his game, though. He wasn't even selected for the World Juniors, wasn't even invited to camp. It doesn't look like he will be this year either, so hopefully he will use that as a motivator to improve his game in the future. But Pickering, hopefully he will make the transition over to Wilkes-Barre and play pretty well over there. Otherwise, doesn't look like that great of a pick. Next up, then, in replacement of, I think it was John Beliveau or something like that. It wasn't John Beliveau, but it was there was this one defender, Isaac Beliveau. It was a defender who was completely unknown in the Pittsburgh spectrum. I don't even think he's on the team anymore. But we're going to talk about Harrison Brunek, the Penguins' first choice in the 2024 draft. He was a defender from Johannesburg, South Africa. That surprised me. So what I learned about this was that he was born in South Africa, but he was raised in Canada. So I guess obviously that makes sense. He was 6 foot, 396 pounds. He won a U18 World Junior Gold, which makes a lot of sense because South Africa is not typically a hockey powerhouse to win World Juniors. But he did win that at 23-24. He was drafted 44th overall in this past year's draft, so 2 picks before Tanner Howe. He played 49 games played this past year with Kamloops. He had 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points. He has good size, fluid skating, not a too well-known of a defender. He's gonna take a while to get to the NHL and fully develop, but I think he's a guy that could become very exciting for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but we'll see how long it takes for him to get to the NHL level. That is obviously a big if for someone like Brunek. Guys that are taken in the second round usually do make the NHL, but some of them do flop. So we shall see if Brunek can make the NHL. And your goaltending prospect in Pittsburgh is actually probably one of their brightest spots. You have Joel Blomqvist, who made the transition over to the American Hockey League this past year. He was a goalie from Finland. I'm not even going to try and say that. He's 6'2", 183 pounds. He was drafted 52nd overall by the Penguins in, I think, 2018, 2019. He played 45 games with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins this past year. He had a 25-12-6 record, a 2.16 goals against average, and a .921 save percentage. He is an AHL All-Star and actually is a very underrated prospect when you look in terms of the goalie spectrum for the Penguins and overall goalie prospects. He came in and stole spots from veterans this past year as a rookie. So he is someone I'm really looking forward to. I've seen him play multiple times because I live in the Philadelphia area. I watch Lehigh Valley Phantoms games, and I've seen Blomqvist play a few times in Wilkes-Barre. He is a terrific goaltender. He is going to be something really special, and I think that, honestly, I'm very excited to see what he is going to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But other prospects that are in the pool for the Penguins, you have defenseman Emil Pienemi, you have goalie Sergei Murashov, and right wing Mikhail Ilyin. So not that well known of a prospect pool, but I do imagine that as the years go on and as they get more first-round selections, because I don't think they're going to trade their first this year. I don't think Dubas is going to do that. We'll see if they do. But I think as the years go on, the Penguins pool will get better because the team is getting worse. It's crazy how that happens. But regardless, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the Penguins prospect pool. We actually have their brother, the Flyers, coming in tomorrow or a few days from now. But anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. We are going to try and get through as many of these as possible. The season previews start up Wednesday, so we have a very short time from then and now, and obviously the prospect pool reviews will finish up before the season starts. Duh. But regardless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.